What is going on, everybody? Yes, this is not a test stream. This is real. Welcome to the debut episode of the State of Black and Gold podcast. It is yours truly, Who Dat Davis. Y'all know how we do it over here. If you don't, then you will know that over here we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold, baby. Yes, sir. We have a lot to talk about coming up from the injury report to the debate between who's going to start between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, to the update to Drew Brees' injury. We have the state of the Saints defense, the state of the Saints offense, the official review of Quan Alexander's debut versus his former team, the San Francisco 49ers, in a state of the NFC South. I see we got good old Jerry Poor here. Yes, sir, the official debut, and I could not be happier. I'm glad to see you here, my man. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into it. My first official update will be the update to Drew Brees' injury. Luke Johnson reported earlier today that Drew Brees suffered not only fractured ribs on both sides of his rib cage, but in terms of his lung, it is a punctured lung, not a collapsed lung. So that is a little easier injury to manage, though it has also been reported that Drew Brees suffered injuries dating over 2 weeks. So let's look at who Drew Brees was facing in those 2 weeks prior to the San Francisco 49ers. There was the Chicago Bears, and then there was Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who Drew Brees looked like he was fine in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. So I'm wondering, when did Drew Brees suffer an injury like that? Was it from the strip sack in the early second half? Like that's amazing. The fact that he was playing up to 3 weeks with cracked ribs and that didn't show up in the injury report. Something went wrong somewhere. Either he didn't disclose it, or he had scans that just didn't pick them up. Yes, that is a possibility of happening. But for Drew Brees to soldier on up to 3 weeks with cracked ribs and show no signs to Sean Payton or trainers, that is incredible. I will say that is incredible for Drew Brees to soldier on for that long, especially at his age. But that's also something that I would view as selfish. The reason why is, you know how important you are, how valuable you are to this team, especially when the Saints get into the postseason. And what Drew Brees did was he put so much burden on himself that now he has to sit out for what it's projected at least 2 weeks, probably even longer. We might see Drew Brees out for, I'd say, 4, maybe 5 weeks. Probably won't be back until either before or after the game versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't understand what Drew Brees had to gain by putting his body on the line like that. The postseason is what you're aiming for. If you get the number 1 seed, that's great. But if not, it's not a big deal. I mean, look at how the NFC standings for the playoff picture is looking right now. You're at a head-to-head with the Green Bay Packers, who have they have the head-to-head win over you. So, but even if you do get into the postseason, it's pretty much going to be even field no matter where you go, because there's no fans. So you need to be thinking more about your health there, Drew. Now, he's lucky that he didn't escape with any further severe injuries. You know, with the whole collapsed lung versus punctured lung deal, a punctured lung is something you can come back from easily. It's a fractured ribs that's going to take you out even longer. Like, come on, Drew. You got to do better than that, my man. It's just, you can't have that happen on your watch. The next thing we're going to talk about is this the injury report of today's Saints. And speaking of injuries, we have a long list here, guys. Let's go ahead and read over this list. We have Josh Hill and Traquan Smith. Both did not practice today because of concussion. Hopefully those guys will be able to clear concussion protocol. If not, then that's going to be It's going to be tough. I'm going to lie to you. It's going to be tough because those guys are relied on heavily to establish the run game for Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. And we have a tough divisional opponent in the Atlanta Falcons who are going to be playing us like they're playing for a Super Bowl. So if those guys aren't able to go, then you have to not only have a next man up mentality, you have to be able to put next man up players in those positions to be able to solidify the run game up the right and or left side. You also have Dwayne Washington, who injured his back, sometime last week. I think it was last week's injury practice. We have Joshua Neal, who wants to come on. What's going on, Josh? Josh was a friend of mine from high school, and he's an Atlanta Falcons fan. Imagine that. We have an Atlanta Falcons fan here, my mans. Welcome, Josh. I'll get you in here in a minute. I'm going over my initial thoughts real quick. So we also have Cameron Jordan, who didn't practice today with also a back injury. That's actually, it's a little concerning, but it's also early in the week. What's good? We have CB here who says, what's good? You have lifted off. Yes, sir. I cannot be happier. What's going on, CB? Good to have you here, man. I'll drop the link down momentarily for everybody. You guys will be able to call in just a couple seconds. We're going over the injury report right now for the Saints. I was just talking about Cameron Jordan's back injury. It's still early in the week, so he could come back tomorrow on unlimited. But if he doesn't practice tomorrow, then I'll definitely call into question his ability to play Sunday against the Falcons. You also have Ryan Ramczyk, who was limited this week. Oh, not this week. Well, yeah, this week and today for a knee injury. But he also played pretty well against San Francisco 49ers. It looks like it was a re-aggravated knee injury from his game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not too concerned about that right now. I'm sure he'll be fine. We have Malcolm Brown, who went out from the San Francisco 49ers game with a calf injury. We have Alvin Kamara, who was limited today for a foot injury. And finally, we have Marshawn Lattimore, who was limited today to an abdomen injury. Now, Marshawn Lattimore's injury came from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game over a slant route to Antonio Brown. It looks like his abdomen landed on the back heel of Antonio Brown's cleat, and he played through that during last week's game. So it's all that put together. It's still early, but we don't know how that's going to work out later on in the week. Hopefully, these guys will come back tomorrow. But on the plus side, with C.J. Gardner-Johnson was reported to be practicing today, and on top of that, he has no injury designation. Now that is a plus, especially given the fact that in case you missed it during the game, he went down from what looked like a shoulder injury, and it looked like it was a dislocated shoulder. So props to C.J. Gardner-Johnson for getting through that. And Alvin Kamara reportedly going to the media and saying, "Get your ass up. We have a game. We have a game to finish." Alvin Kamara out here inspiring people, just like C.J. Gardner-Johnson is inspiring energy and swagger in this entire Saints team. Now, speaking of the defense, we have state of the Saints defense right now, and we have to talk about how the San Francisco 49ers were giving the Saints a hard time in the first quarter. They were playing possession, as expected, of Kyle Shanahan, your former rival and former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. He knows how dangerous the offense can be when they get the ball. So I give credit where it's due on that front. But other than that, I have little to no respect for the San Francisco 49ers team. Why? Because over the past 2 years, the last two meetings, the San Francisco 49ers are responsible for 3 different concussions to Saints players. Last week, it was Josh Hill and Traquan Smith. One was very blatant, a elbow shot to Traquan Smith's head that jerked his head back so hard, I was worried he had a neck injury on top of it. His head just jerked back off of that elbow. And last year, a 35-yard touchdown pass to Jared Cook, and he ended up taking a shot to the head on top of that. So this 49ers defense, they may be proud, but they're very dirty. And Kyle Shanahan has a vendetta against the New Orleans Saints team, who embarrassed him year after year while he was in the NFC South. Kyle Shanahan, you have to coach your players better than that. That's absolutely irresponsible. I don't care if your defense is riddled with injury. Can you add me real quick, Bob? Okay, we have Joshua Neal, who said, can you add me real quick? He's got 4 minutes left on break. Let's go ahead and get him in here. We want his take. We definitely want to take from an Atlanta Falcons fan. So there is the link. Go ahead and join in. Call in, everybody, if you want to get your thoughts in while I go ahead and explain the rest of these notes I got here. The state of the Saints offense. Now, we have, as obvious as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, Drew Brees is out with a cracked ribs and a punctured lung. Yes, a punctured lung, not a collapsed lung. So he's going to be out for, without a doubt, 2 weeks. But is he going to be out longer? And that brings up the question: who is Sean Payton going to start at the quarterback position between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston? A lot of Saints fans are thinking it's going to be Taysom Hill. A lot of Saints fans think it's going to be Jameis Winston. But Sean Payton refuses to comment on who's going to be starting where. We have Joshua Neal saying, go Atlanta. Yeah, I don't know about that one, bud. I doubt you're going to win against us this Sunday. But it's any given Sunday. You never know. Even though your Atlanta Falcons are on a 2-game win streak, albeit against trash defenses, you're on a 2-game winning streak. Your confidence is high. You don't know. You got us in a trap game last year. I'll give you that. It's a 26-9 victory for Atlanta Falcons. And the Saints were coming off a 6 or 7 game winning streak. So, yeah, if you want to call in, everybody, I have dropped down the link. You just click that. Come on in. Give your thoughts. Give your opinions. But, yeah, back to Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. This is a very unique situation that Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston find themselves in because of the fact that you see we got CB here. What's going on, CB, man?
What's good with you, fam?
Hey, okay. Right now we're talking shop about this Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston conundrum on who Sean Payton is going to have starting against the Atlanta Falcons this week. A lot of people are leaning towards Taysom Hill. Some are leaning towards Jameis Winston. I was personally thinking it was going to be Jameis Winston because he's familiar with the quarterback position. He's done so since his coming up in 2016. What are your thoughts on who Sean Payton is going to go for? Do you think it's going to be Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, or do you think it's going to sprinkle in a little bit of both to keep the Atlanta defense on their toes?
Yeah. Before I answer, man, I just want to congratulate you, man, on getting your podcast kicked off, man. I know the feeling of getting a podcast kicked off. So, man, best wishes. And we will definitely be supportive of your podcast.
I appreciate that, my man.
No problem. Okay, Jameis Taysom. I think it's going to be a mix of both. But the thing with me, with Taysom, I believe if Jameis is the guy that's going out there starting, I believe Taysom is not going to be our future. And the reason I say that, I know, guys say, where we're using Taysom, in other packages and stuff. I know that, but if you look at Lamar Jackson's and stuff, the same way we use Taysom, Lamar is running that as a full-time quarterback. He's running those plays along with, running the whole offense. So I believe if Jameis is out there, which Jameis is going to be out there, I believe they don't see Taysom as the guy. I mean, that's just my opinion. Because if they see Taysom as the guy, I believe he would have had his opportunity, this week to go out there and show, whether he's going to be that guy or not.
Okay, hold that thought. Before we go any further, we have Carly, everybody, also from the Who Dat Nation WDN Chatline podcast. Carly, how you doing? Welcome to the debut episode of the State of Black and Gold podcast, honey.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Now, I've asked CB his thoughts on who Sean Payton is going to start between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. He's believing it's going to be Jameis Winston. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's going to be him or Taysom Hill, or do you think it's going to be a mixed match to keep the Atlanta defense on their toes?
I think it's going to be a mixed match, but I think Jameis Winston will be the primary quarterback. I think that the only reason why Jameis was listed as the number 3 quarterback was for obvious reasons, was because with Taysom Hill being listed as a quarterback, if you put Jameis as the number 2, then Taysom wouldn't be able to come in this game. Once the number 3 quarterback gets in, your starting quarterback has to stay out the rest of the game. So Taysom had to be listed as the number 2 quarterback so that we can use him as the switched army like that we do now. So I think that they both are going to get looks at the quarterback position, because there are some things that Taysom can do that Jameis cannot, and vice versa. But I do believe that Jameis Winston will be the primary quarterback in this game.
Yeah, you also have the fair factor in the fact that with Taysom Hill being a starting quarterback for the Saints, it limits the playbook for Sean Payton and what kind of offense he wants to run. Now, speaking of offenses he wants to run, what kind of offense do you expect to see this Sunday under a Jameis Winston-led team? Do you think it's going to be a more shots down the field, or do you think he's going to try and assimilate Jameis Winston to be a little bit more like what Teddy Bridgewater did during his 5-game stretch last season?
No, see, the difference was Jameis is known for throwing interceptions. So we're not going to have him throwing deep down the field in the beginning. We're going to start off with running this ball. I feel like we're going to play the same type of offense we've been asking him to play for the longest with Drew Brees, when becoming a run-first team. Mm-hmm. And with Jameis, that's exactly what I feel we're going to get. He's going to get those deep shots down the field as well, but this will be definitely a running back-heavy game.
I can understand that. CB, what do you think, my man? Do you think it's going to be more of a down-the-field type of offense, or do you think it's going to be assimilated to be more like what Teddy Bridgewater was last season?
Well, I agree with what Carly saying. Basically just starting out being the game manager and, gradually working your way up. I think that'll be the smart thing to do now, because we have 2 running backs that's able to take on that workload. And then we have Kamar, that can catch the, little out routes and stuff. We seen, in the past, he can make something shake, with the little dump passes. So I think the smart thing to do is, don't try to just switch it up. I know he's saying, play, he want to play to the QB's strength, but I think the smart thing to do is, utilize your running backs. I know the Falcons are number 6 against the run, but, Tampa is the best or number 2. They are top 3 against the run, so we're still going to be able to make something shake there. But I think they just need to stick to, being a game manager, and then, if you get the shots, take them. But don't try to just dramatically change it up, because, as of right now, Brees is only out 2 weeks. So.
Well, 2 weeks as far 2 weeks as far as we know, but definitely 2 weeks. Now, with the topic of the running game, yeah, they may be fourth best against the run, but they're also 31st against the pass. And Carly mentioned that he was a turnover machine last year in Tampa Bay. But if you look at some of the film, you can legitimately make an argument that you can take away at least 10 of those, because they were either tipped at the hands of the receivers or just popped up in the air and it just ended up landing in the defender's hands. Now, with that said, running the ball is a paramount thing. I agree with y'all on that. But this is a team that knows the Saints as well as the Saints know the Falcons. So do you believe it's going to be much harder to run this ball against a very familiar opponent in the Atlanta Falcons, or do you believe it's going to be kind of like what we did week 9 against the Buccaneers? I'll start with Carly first.
I definitely don't think this is going to be one of those games like we did with the Tampa Bay. While I hope it will be, but I don't see that happening, because they've had enough film study on us up until that to kind of see what we were doing and make plays around that to stop those type of plays. However, with Jameis Winston, granted he was in Tampa Bay with one eye, and even though he's had that eye surgery, got that corrected. If you go back to even in the off seasons when they were having OTAs and things like that, when they were doing their quarterback challenges, he just was not accurate. His accuracy was off by a lot. Jameis gets happy feet, okay, like the little penguin on that little movie, Happy Feet. Where Jameis gets very happy feet, okay, and Jameis, like CB said, if the opportunity is there and it's open, then take it. But Jameis is also one of those guys that he'll run to the ball as well and get himself injured. Because one thing about Jameis, if he don't know how to do anything, he definitely don't know how to slide. So I think that this is going to be a run heavy offense, and I feel the same way about this that I feel about Michael Thomas. They always say, "Oh, he's a slant king." Okay, well, if you know what he's going to do, why can't you stop him? And I feel that's what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. We're going to run this ball, and eventually your defense is going to get fatigued. They're going to get tired. They ain't going to be able to keep up with this man. This man is fast, explosive, slippery. He's athletic. He's rejuvenated. This is a 100% Alvin Kamara health-wise. They're not going to stop this man. And then you have a bigger back in Latavius Murray, possibly Dwayne Washington, Deontay Harris. It doesn't matter. The Atlanta Falcons, no matter how much they prepare for this, if we play A1 football, they're not going to stop this run game that's coming to them.
Okay, we have a question here from Parker. Parker says, "Do you guys think they'll sprinkle in Taysom Hill?" You actually came in at a unique time because I just asked this question to these guys. Two out of most of us, I believe they actually will sprinkle in some Taysom Hill, because if you limit Taysom Hill's play time, especially against an Atlanta Falcons team, you're also limiting Sean Payton's playbook, and that's something you don't want to do. So I do believe you will see Taysom Hill at the tight end spot, maybe some slot action. But yeah, I don't think they'll completely take out Taysom Hill, but I don't think you should expect to see him at the quarterback position either. Now, we have to move on to a different subject real quick. Quan Alexander, before we go back to the office, Quan Alexander, my official review for Quan Alexander is the man played amazing. Yeah, he missed 2 tackles, but he is also accounted for 2 tackles for losses. So he may not have been in most tackles, but he was definitely around the scene of. This guy was flying around the field. If I had to give Quan Alexander a debut grade, I'd have to give it probably a C+, only because I want to see consistency out of Quan Alexander, and can this man stay healthy? That's his biggest issue when he was a San Francisco 49er, was his health issue. He's coming off 100%. CB, do you think Quan Alexander can stay healthy for the rest of the season? And if so, what grade would you give his debut?
Well, I hope he can stay healthy. I hope so. And if not, we have linebacker that can fill in for him. That'll be decent. But far as the amount of snaps he got Sunday, that just told everything about Anzalone. They didn't come out and say it, but that just told everything about how they felt about Anzalone. Was he producing? They view for him. Expectations, he wasn't living up to that. So to get back on Quan, I mean, this guy, if he can stay healthy, man, this just puts speed at the linebacker position. And DeMario, he's able to play his natural position, at the wheel. But like you said, man, he just got to stay consistent. He did miss a few tackles, but he just showed speed out there, man, and we definitely gonna need it. We definitely gonna need his speed. And if they can stay healthy, man, it's going to be one hell of a, duo out there, because I can't see us running a lot of base 4-3, just the fact, Chauncey got to be out there. Chauncey will be out there, 95% of snaps. So I believe we're still going to be more in that 4-2-5 look. So, yeah, he just got to stay healthy. Stay healthy, man. We got us a good one.
Absolutely, especially given the fact that the energy this band brings to the entire defense, along with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you're definitely going to need that, especially in the postseason. But we also have another caller. It's good old Jerry Poor. What's going on, Jerry?
What's going on? Who that, Davis? What up, CB? Who that to you?
Who that?
Good, Rich.
We're talking Quan Alexander right now. What grade would you give his debut, and do you believe that he can stay healthy come the rest of the season?
Well, my grade with Quan Alexander, I mean, he played the whole game on Sunday, so I got to give it to him. So my grade to this to Quan Alexander, I'd say I give him let's go. Let's jump to a B for right now because only because he made his debut and he played a full game on Sunday against his former team, the 49ers. I'd say I'd give this man a B plus.
Okay, that's a pretty generous grade. Okay, that's a pretty generous grade,
Yeah.
especially given the fact that
you want to start slow and pick up where you left off because I know he was dominant when he was with the 49ers, but he can be more dominant with us.
that's true, especially given the type of character Demario Davis
stay
is.
healthy and don't have any problems. He's gonna be all right in the future.
I agree, especially given his contract situation. If he does perform well enough, I actually see Morpheus Loomis. Yes, I say Morpheus Loomis over here in State of Black and Gold. Morpheus Loomis. I'll say it loud and proud. Morpheus Loomis. I see him bringing him back come next season. he's supposed to be making $13.5 million next season, but a lot of that isn't guaranteed. I believe 6 or 7 of that is supposed to be guaranteed. So if he can, if he decides to come back, I see Morpheus Loomis restructuring his contract, and this linebacker core could be set for probably the next year or two. So this is a big audition for Quan Alexander. Now, speaking of this entire defense, Marshawn Lattimore, if anybody's here that missed it, he suffered an abdomen injury. That was dating back to Week 9 against the Buccaneers when he went up against Antonio Brown and he landed on his back heel. Now, the question remains is, will he be healthy enough to play Sunday? Because he's going up against Julio Jones, one of the best receivers today, actually all time. So if Marshawn Lattimore is ruled out for Sunday, his replacement is going to be Patrick Robinson. Now we don't talk much about Patrick Robinson. He's already accounted for 2 INTs in the end zone on the year. He's actually one of the better corners when he's actually paying attention to his side of the field and getting his head around and finding the ball. Now, question is, if Marshawn Lattimore does not go on Sunday, how do you see Dennis Allen game planning for someone like Julio Jones with Patrick Robinson lining up across from him?
Ooh, do you think Patrick? I was gonna say, well, do you think Patrick will get that assignment or Jack Rabbit?
I definitely think it's going to be Patrick Robinson, just because from looking at the depth chart, Patrick Robinson is Marshawn Lattimore's backup, just as PJ Williams is the backup to Janoris Jenkins. I think Jack Rabbit needs to stay on Calvin Ridley because even though Julio Jones is one of the best receivers of all time, he has slowed down. Whereas Calvin Ridley, he can get upfield, he can cover the deep ball, provided he gets his head turned around. But I think you need someone like that on Calvin Ridley to make sure he doesn't take the top off the defense.
Yes, that's true. But go ahead, Jerry. My fault.
No, I was gonna say, speaking of Patrick Robinson, he did save us from especially with that game-winning interception at the end. Him and Malcolm Jenkins, because how many interceptions we had against the 49ers? About what, 3? I know Jenkins caught one, and I know Robinson caught one. But somebody else caught an interception. I don't know who that is.
I don't think we had 2 interceptions in the last meeting. I know there actually, it was Robert. Malcolm Jenkins.
Jenkins.
Malcolm
he went up and got it.
He should have had 2 in that game. He should have 4 in the year.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, we move into the next topic, which is the NFC South standings going forward after this game against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, The Tampa Bay's next opponent is the Los Angeles Rams, and they have one of the best total defenses in the league today. Now, if somehow it's going to be a tough battle for sure. Now, if Tampa Bay somehow finds a way to win that game, they're still only a half a game behind New Orleans Saints. And if the Saints mess around and lose this game this Sunday, that puts them back in the driver's seat. Now, my question is, what's the ending record do you see for the entire NFC South? I have New Orleans Saints 12-4, Tampa Bay 11-5. I have Atlanta Falcons. Let's go ahead and give them a 5-11. Let's go ahead and give them a 5-11. I have Carolina Panthers a 3-13.
Well, I'll give you my standings if everything goes well according to plan and the Saints don't mess up. Because we're sitting at 7-2 right now, and we got these 7 games coming up. You see, we got the Falcons twice. We got the Broncos on the 29th. Then we got the Eagles on the 13th. The Chiefs on the 20th. Vikings on Christmas Day, and the Panthers in 2021 in January. I'd say between that, the Saints either go 14-2, 13-3, 12-4, or 11-5. That's or 10-6. The way, whichever way this direction goes, with Jameis Winston as the starting quarterback right now until Brees come back. But I really do want to see the Green Bay Packers lose a few games and the Saints win more games, because I want them to take control of that 1 seed when it comes playoff time. That way we can rest our starters, and whoever we play out of the wild card, we'll be ready for them.
All right, that's Jerry Poor, everybody. All right, Joe, I gotta let you go, man. I got my guests. I got my other guests lying in wait.
Okay. And shout out to Carly, man. Thanks for having me, man. And once again, congratulations on your debut, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. I'll see you back here Friday. We do our pregame shows on Fridays.
All right. And I'll holler at you later, CB.
All right. See you, fam.
All right, bro.
Yes, sir. That's Jerry Poor, everybody. Knowledgeable guy, passionate guy. You want him when you're talking Saints. But we got Carly back, the second guest. Welcome back, Carly.
Thank
you. Now, we were talking.
I apologize about that.
No, you're fine. We managed to get Jerry Poor on here for a little bit. We were just talking about what our final predictions will be for the NFC South. What would you say the final records would be for the entire division?
Oh wow. Okay, Saints, I'm gonna go with 13-3. The Falcons, I am going to go with 12-4. And I'm going with 3-13 for the Falcons, and then the same for 2-4. Well, 4-12 for the Carolina Panthers.
Wow, you're actually a little more generous with the Panthers than me. I got them at 3-13. So let's go ahead and get into this next.
Here's the reason why I'm a little more generous with the Carolina Panthers. Is because they're going to get Christian McCaffrey back eventually. So it doesn't matter who they have at quarterback. When you have that guy in the backfield, just like he showed you last year, and the reason why he earned his contract, because it didn't matter who the quarterback was. You give him the ball, and he's going to be a ball hog, and he's going to do what he's supposed to do when he got that rock in his hand.
There is that, but there's also we have Jerry Poor. Jerry Poor looking out for you, Carly.
Appreciate that.
Now, you make a valid point with Christian McCaffrey, but the thing is, CMC is already out again with a shoulder injury. He, from what I'm understanding, he kind of rushed back against that Kansas City game, and now he's out for probably another 2 to 3 weeks. So that brings up my reason for the 13-3 record. And even though they went 13-3 last year, the fact that they relied on him so much, I think going forward they could be better now that they know what kind of pieces they have at the receiving position. And even Mike Davis, the guy's a sturdy rock, especially with yards after contact. So I gotta give my credit where it's due with the Carolina Panthers. And as much as I hate the Falcons, I give them credit where it's due. A 2-1 record after they finally fired Dan Quinn. Sad day for Saints fans. I wish I kept them, but it is what it is. But I will absolutely never, and I cannot stress this enough, I will never respect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 13 years of being the poverty of this division and being poverty of the NFL. They finally get Tom Brady, and now they think they're creaming the crop. I can't respect it for the fact that they have shown nothing that would make us or anybody believe that they will be worth anything after this season. Absolutely nothing. Even with Tom Brady staying there under this 2-year contract, you can't have the type of history that you have with like your overall, you're worse than the Atlanta Falcons, who are known for blowing leads. At least they managed to get to the playoffs a handful of times. You haven't been to the playoffs since how long? What was it, 2003? Or is it sooner?
I think 2008 they got a wild. 2007 or 8 they got a wild card.
2007, 8. That's like, okay, that's over 12 years ago. So you've been next to nothing for, let's say, 13 years. You've been done for 13 years, and now all of a sudden you want to go around social media flapping your gums just because you got TB12 who's only going to be there for about the next probably the next year. Right. Antonio Brown is probably going to be out the door because news is broken out that he got into it with a security guard, throwing stuff around security cameras, starting fights, and the NFL is looking to that as it is. So, with all these pieces you're trying to bring in to be a superstar team, it takes all of that, and you still get swept by the Saints 2 years in a row. Come on, man. Come on. That's absolutely funny.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Carly. I was telling her the other day. I done lost a lot of respect for Tampa fans. I mean, I know, they are division rivals. Carolina are division rivals, but it's not a hate. Like, I don't have a hate towards, Carolina, and I didn't have a hate towards Tampa fans. It was always the Falcons only. But this year with Tom Brady, like they pulling up to the scene, like they done been there, done that, like everything just gonna be handed to them. So yeah, this sweep definitely, done put them back, on ground zero. Just a reminder, no, you just because you got Tom, it's not gonna be red roses, So I've done lost a lot of respect, for Tampa fans, for the majority of them. But far as how things play out, I mean, where AB, yeah, I think regardless of the situation, he gonna be gone after this year anyway, because he got to put up his numbers. He on the backside of 30 now, so he trying to get his numbers, and he ain't gonna get it like that. With Mike and Chris Godwin there, but yeah, I mean, offensively they got the pieces, but it didn't show against us. But we still need to do what we have to do. Especially right now, that Drew is out, so we can go on and just squeeze this division out because we got a comfortable. I'm not a comfortable lead, but a 2-game lead, because if we lose one, we tie, and then if we lose again, they ahead of us. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Tampa. Like I really don't understand that, with the fan base.
Jerry Poor mimics the same. He says Bucks fans remind me of The Walking Dead. They rose from the dead and started walking when Tom Brady came in. Okay, come on, man. Don't disrespect The Walking Dead, man. Don't disrespect The Walking Dead like that. That franchise was everything for me when I was in the military, man. I binged that stuff when we had downtime. Come on, man. At least find another comparison. At least Twilight or something. Don't compare them to The Walking Dead.
Now they talking about everybody, all the Saints fans, all the Saints fans hated Jameis. Now we're gonna be on this nuts. That's what a lot of Bucs fans is saying right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna laugh when Jameis Winston shows he can actually survive and thrive outside of a Bruce Arians system. A lot of people don't understand that Bruce Arians isn't that good of a head coach, especially when you're a young quarterback whose first year is going to get type of offense. I forgot who it was, but the Jerry Core, but I forgot who it was. But the first quarterback who played under Bruce Arians had a total of 22 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. That's a lot of red flags when you're trying to submit your legacy. Now, granted, he did better than that the following year with 11 touchdowns and five interceptions, but they cut Jameis Winston before he had that chance to show improvement. So this is actually set up. This is set up really well for Jameis Winston to show that he can stick it to this Tampa Bay organization that did him dirty. Now, speaking of our Saints, Carly, did I ask you your thoughts on Quan Alexander and his grade? What grade would you give Quan Alexander's debut? I gave him a C- because I want to see.
I give it a C. Oh.
Yeah, you good.
I gave him a C, but I gave him a C. But the reason I gave him a C was because he's just getting into this system. He's had only a few days to learn this playbook. He's been my guy since LSU. I'm a huge LSU fan. So whenever those guys go pro and do good, I'm excited about him. And then I'm excited because it's one of my guys on my home team squad. So I gave him a C. He did really well. There were a few missed tackles that he could have had under his belt, but you know what? You grow and you learn from those things. It was his first game. He was just in his feet wet, and he was just hoping to go against his former team. So, I gave him a C. I think he did quite well for someone who just got into the playbook and just got thrown out there.
And let's not forget the fact he took away all of Alex Anzalone's snaps. I mean, one snap,
absolutely,
and you're only here for 1 week, and you take all these snaps away. That's
you think about it. I mean, really, when you trading for like a Pro Bowl type player, those the type of players that just come in and start instantly. I mean, if you really think about it, I didn't expect him to get that many snaps. I had him getting about between 15 to 20 max. But yeah, for him to get all them snaps, that says a lot, about Anzalone. But
yeah, that's absolutely crazy. The level of chemistry I've already seen out of Demario Davis and Quan Alexander. That gives me more reason to be excited. You can actually see and almost feel Demario Davis just feed off of his energy, his hype energy, and it showed in his total results. 8 total pressures, 1 sack, 2 tackles for losses, 2 passes deflected. His final grade in Pro Football Focus was number 1 among all linebackers through week 10. That's the best we've seen out of Demario Davis.
Yes. And I think, now that he's gonna be playing more in his natural position, that's he gonna be playing even better. Like I said, he done a hell of a job, playing a lot of Mike, but the wheel, that's his bread and butter. So yeah, it's definitely exciting times at that position. Kind of questioned it when it first got made, but Quan definitely done showed me something now. Because now we got some fast linebackers reminding me of the Seattle linebackers back when that Legion of Boom was there.
Legion of Boom.
Legion of Boom, yes, sir. Now, before we go ahead and end the show for tonight, I got one final topic of discussion here, and that is the Saints offensive line. Come prior to the Drew Brees injury, starting right guard Cesar Ruiz gave up a sack that further aggravated his rib injuries. A lot of people are calling for Cesar Ruiz's head, and I don't agree with that for the sole purposes prior to so my reason for that is prior to giving up a sack, Cesar Ruiz has not given up a sack, and since his time of starting as the right guard. And the running game has been very successful going up the right side between the chemistry of him and Ryan Branchek passing defenders around, swinging their hips into the holes, open up lanes for Alvin Kamara to do his thing. Like, and you have to understand the guy's a rookie, and he was going up against one of the most prideful of defensive lines in the San Francisco 49ers. They were no slouch just because they were injured. And the fact that he only gave up one sack against a defense like that, you had to give credit where it's due. The sack just came at one of the worst times. And honestly, if Drew Brees wasn't so stubborn and playing through like rib injuries, he probably would still be on track to play against Atlanta. So I chalk that up to Drew Brees as much as, him being a rookie. What do you think, Carly? Oh, hold on. Before you do, Jameis Winston or Carson Wentz? Definitely Jameis Winston, guy. Definitely Jameis Winston. You can argue that he had 30 interceptions last season, but what in Carson Wentz have you seen that can make you believe he is a better option between he and Jameis Winston? Like, the guy has more fumbles and INTs than any quarterback so far this season. Like, come on. I honestly think that Jameis Winston is better. Now, Carson Wentz is a good guy. He is a good guy, but he's definitely not better than Jameis Winston in the quote-unquote cult following that somehow he's managed to pick up in his time in Philadelphia is insane. Jameis coming off of trends. It's just a trust issue. Look, like I said, I can understand the level of concern a little bit with the 30 interceptions he threw last year, but 10 of those weren't even his fault. 10 of those you can blame receivers for because they just can't hold on to the ball and they get popped and the ball pops up and it ends up in the defender's hands. Now, I do give you the fact that it is decision making and always throwing the ball down the field. You can also argue that is a product of the Bruce Arians offense. We look at the Bruce Arians record in terms of who he's coached. There is one for 20, I mentioned earlier, 22 touchdowns and 20 interceptions in that quarterback's first year. So I want to see, and I'm optimistic about what Jameis Winston can do under a offensive mind and coaching staff like Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. So I definitely still prefer Jameis Winston over Carson Wentz at this stage. Now, Carly, your take.
What was the question for me again?
Damn, how did I even forget?
Yeah.
But I got so into this. I got
you. No, I got you. No, Cesar Ruiz then won his head on a platter. I don't agree with that. First of all, he's just a rookie. He's been playing great when he's in the game up until that one missed tackle. You can't actually hit on a platter. You're asking this guy to basically play perfect football when he's a rookie. He's just a baby. Let him, maybe next year drill him. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the Who Dat Nation is going so hard on him like they did Marcus Williams with the Minnesota Miracle. And it's like, no, stop. He's a rookie. Everybody makes mistakes. You act like this. Yes, 49ers was injured and busted, but not at the position where it pertains to Caesar. Their best of the best was out there. And again, we have a rookie, okay, against their best. I'm not asking for his head. I'm just asking for him to learn from it, get better, and correct the mistake. Because he continued to play disciplined football throughout the game, even after that. He didn't get discouraged because of it. He didn't let him get him down. He continued to play Saints football, and that's a big part of why we won.
CB, what are your thoughts on this whole Cesar Ruiz debacle?
I mean, basically everything Carla said. I mean, everybody gonna get beat on a play, and that it was just unfortunate that play. It just happened to play out like that. I mean, everybody. Teron done got beat on a play. Ryan Ramchick. I'm talking about this season. They done got beat on some plays. It just happened that the way the hit was made, it just further damage is real. Now, if you look at like a Andrews Pete, somebody like last year, when he gave up the sack. I mean, when he let Aaron Donald, he got beat by Aaron Donald, and then he hit a storm. I could see an argument for that because Pete, you know, that was consistent what Pete was doing right there. The same with Zach Strief a few years back, you know, towards Zach Strief's end, you know, when he got Brees' shoulder or shoulder messed up in some way, missed that game. Those arguments, I mean, that's fair, but you know, Ruiz, he's still a baby. I mean, and everybody gonna get beat on a play. I mean, ain't nobody gonna play perfect out there. It just happened to go that way.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of optimism for Cesar Ruiz. I hope he doesn't. Blame himself too badly for that Drew Brees sack and injury. The guy's been playing out of his mind. So I hope he just continues to trend in the right direction. He just takes it. He just takes the inexperience with a grain of salt and moves forward. But with that said, everybody, that's gonna do it for this debut episode of the State of Black and Gold. Shout out to CB, Carly, the WDN Chatline podcast. I will link their podcast in the description and in the comments down below. Go show them some love. They more than deserve it. But that's it. That's all. Stay healthy, stay classy, and remember, we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. I'll see you guys later. Deuces.